Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Today I'm doing a movie review of a Blu-ray I own, and this one is the big epic Braveheart, there with Mel Gibson, somewhat controversial figure nowadays. Here's the back part, a couple scenes from the movie. Braveheart came out in 1995 when I was about 12 years old. Directed by Mel Gibson, one of the big movies that he directed at this time. I don't know if he's directed too much. This might be like maybe the second or third movie he directed, I think. So a pretty big movie for him, big epic, like I said. Stars Mel Gibson as the main character, William Wallace, who I'll talk about here. There's Sophie Marceau, Patrick McGoohan, Angus McFadden, Catherine McCormick, and Brendan Gleeson, kind of some of the main characters of this movie. The synopsis of the movie is, if you don't know, Braveheart stars Mel Gibson as William Wallace. At the time, Scotland is owned by England. England's this big empire. I want to say like maybe 11th century Scotland, I want to say, like a long time ago. Like I said, Scotland owned by England. England's king, King Longshanks, played by Patrick McGoohan, is like this evil king, and they are very oppressive to the Scots, and they just really bad to the Scots. And so Mel Gibson, or William Wallace, as a kid, spoilers for the movie here at the beginning of the movie, but his dad goes and kind of fights kind of rebellion against the England, I think. And he ends up dying. And so then he goes off and lives with his uncle, who educates him, teaches him how to fight. He eventually comes back to his Scottish village when he's Mel Gibson and he's an adult. And he wants to settle down at his parents' house, the way he grew up. And he wants to get married and have kids and just live a normal life. And there's this girl named Miriam that he knew as a little kid, and he's been thinking about her his whole life, kind of thing. So he wants to marry her, but King Longshanks puts in this rule that on the wedding night, this English officer gets to have sex with the wife first before the husband does, and this way, I think, trying to make it so there's not so many Scottish men or Scottish-born babies or something like that. Because as King Longshanks says, the problem with Scots is there's too many Scots, or his problem with Scotland is there's too many Scots in it. So he wants to try to, I think, level off the population. Anyway, so of course this is, evil thing to do. It makes, the Scottish men very upset that they their wives have to be violated in this way. Obviously very humiliating and just a horrible thing. So when William Wallace wants to marry Miriam, they do it secretly so that so she doesn't have to have sex with an English officer. But then she ends up almost getting raped. He saves her, but wasn't able to get her free. She gets captured by the English. Again, spoilers for the movie because this is kind of the whole basis of the movie. But she ends up getting murdered or killed by the English officer, and they want William Wallace to come, and they want to capture him. And so they have her body at this fort or whatever. And so he gets up some of his Scottish, people from the village, and they raid the fort and kill all of them. And he gets the body back so they can bury his wife's body. And of course, this sets off, motion of, rebellion and war. Of course, the English want to come down and, stop this rebellion right away. William Wallace is getting all the Scotch together, and Scottish people from all over the country are coming together, and they're forming their own army to fight the English and basically saying, you don't own us anymore. Let us have our own king and control ourselves. And we don't want you controlling us anymore because you're evil. And so he's fighting for freedom. And so he gets all his men together. And so they have battles and so forth. Anyways, and that's the whole basis of the movie. He's trying to unite all the nobles together, the whole country together into one. And so, and he's not about money or titles and stuff like that, like the nobles are. He just wants the freedom of the country. So stuff like what happened to his wife doesn't happen again. Anyway, so that's the basis of the whole movie. Lots of battle scenes, very bloody, very violent movie, and very popular. I want to talk about my background with the movie. I saw this probably when I was 13, 14, somewhere around there. I was in junior high, I think. At the time, like, and this was, of course, a radar movie. I didn't watch radar movies. My parents didn't allow me to watch them, and rightly so. I probably shouldn't be watching them. Did I follow that rule? No. I did watch some radar movies as a kid when my parents didn't know about, and this was one of them. I went to a friend's house, and he said he had Braveheart, and at the time he had to get, it was a 3-hour movie, so long that he had to have 2 VHS tapes. The movie came in 2 VHS tapes. They put one in, and then when the first half was over, then you had to take that out and put the other one in, you know, and they'd rewind it and all that back in the day. And so I was at his house, and he had Braveheart, I guess, on VHS tape. He said, "You want to watch Braveheart?" And I never saw it, of course. And I was like, yeah, of course. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be watching it, but yet, you know, there's something, you know, invigorating about being rebellious to your parents. So, and I kind of wanted to see the movie because I heard about it, and I like action. So I was like, I wanted to see, you know, this movie where there's a lot of action in it. Anyway, so I watched it, really enjoyed it. Bit shocking to me. I'm not used to watching radar movies, and here I'm watching this movie where people's heads are getting cut off and limbs are getting cut off, and torture, and, you know, it's a pretty gruesome movie at times. But so it was a little hard to watch at times for me as a kid or as a teenager. In fact, it's the second radar movie I ever saw. I saw the first one was Speed, which I actually saw with my parents, or at least my dad was there, I know. And we saw that on VHS tape at home. Someone brought it and we watched it. So that was the first time I saw a radar movie, and that was my introduction to it. But then this was a pretty big step into radar movies, I would say. I don't know if it was shocking at the time. It felt shocking to me, the violence. Maybe there's other movies that were that violent, but it seemed like it upped up violence at a new level. And battle scenes. I mean, the battle scenes were incredible. I think that was kind of something pretty significant at the time. Like, we didn't see battle scenes quite like that at the time. Obviously, they're fighting with swords and axes and stuff. And it's very closed-in battles and bow and arrows and stuff like that. But yeah, so I remember watching it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Obviously, I liked the action of the battles, you know, and all that. And I enjoyed the whole storyline of fighting for your freedom of your country. So I remember enjoying it quite a bit. It was a bit later, I think probably when I was in college, that I rewatched the movie and just really fell in love with it and everything else that went about the movie. Anyway, so it was a big award winner. Of course, I said a huge movie, big box office, very popular. A lot of people talked about it. It was nominated for 10 Oscars, won 5 of them, including Best Picture, so won the big one of that year. Mel Gibson won Best Director, which was very interesting. Not too many actors go on to also win the Oscar for Best Director. I can think of like Laurence Olivier, Woody Allen, Warren Beatty, Robert Redford, I think, are in that list. I can't think of too many more. Might be some I'm not thinking of, but so he's in that kind of small list of actors that also, I mean, that direct and also act in the movies that they direct, I should say. Anyway, so he wins Best Director, wins Best Cinematography. One of the best cinematography I've ever seen. I love the footage of all the mountains, the kind of helicopter footage. Just really beautiful in the ocean or whatever that's there, I think. But yeah, the Highland Mountains, I think it is. Just really beautiful. A lot of great scenery in the movie. Won Best Sound Effects Editing and Best Makeup. Love the iconic makeup of Mel Gibson with that blue streaky, like, across his face is really good. And Robert De Bruce's father is in, like, old man makeup. Really well done for its time, so that's probably why it won Best Makeup. It was also nominated for Screenplay, Costume, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and Best Score. The score was done by James Horner, one of my favorite musical conductors, whatever, scores. And this is probably my favorite score of all time. I love John Williams and, you know, Hans Zimmer and some of those people. This one's one of the best. I mean, the flutes are so beautiful. You know, you got bagpipes, you got great drums and violins, and it's just really, really well done. Underrated. Like I said, it didn't win. I don't know how it didn't win. It should have won. But I don't know if people talk enough about the score, but it's so great. I love listening to the soundtrack to this movie. James Horner, of course, would go on to win for Titanic, and he also did like Apollo 13 and lots of other movies. He was a big time musical conductor for movies. So how this movie holds up, like I said, I watched this a couple weeks ago. I got the Blu-ray. It's also on Amazon Prime, if you have that. Still love this movie. Like I said, it's such a beautiful made movie. The score is so amazing. But I love the whole story. Love the performances. It's got a great story of, you know, fighting for your freedom against evil. I mean, how can you not like that? It's easy to get behind something like that. And I just love that concept of fighting for your freedom. Of course, for me as an American, we fought for our freedom against English too, in the American Revolution War in 1776. And that's obviously a huge part of being American is July 4th, celebrating the Independence Day and set up fireworks. And maybe people don't think about it, but I always think about, you know, how important that is, that we won our freedom from England and got to be our own country and got to be America. You know, so I kind of really feel sympathetic for the for Scotland at this time, and for William Wallace, and rooting for them to fight for their freedom against England. You know, I feel that patriotism, even though I'm not Scottish, I feel a lot of patriotism for the Scots. And I'm like, yes, go Scotland, you know, defeat the English. So I like that a lot. And I love the whole idea of dying for freedom, that freedom is something worth dying for. There's certain things that are worth dying for, and I think freedom is very important to have as a country, to be able to elect your own officials and make your own laws and conduct yourselves without an outside interference. I think that's a huge deal, and I still to this day, I always like if a country can win their freedom from someone else, it's always great. We don't have as much today, maybe, but yeah. So that's what I love about the movie so much, and why it still hits hard for me when I watch it. Best character, it's obviously going to be William Wallace, played by Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson, really great performance here. So surprised he didn't even get nominated for Best Actor, and I thought he probably should have won Best Actor for this performance. So good. He's in a lot of scenes, about every scene. I mean, he really carries the movie, and it's a big, long movie. He's in really great shape as a character, and he gives some great speeches in the movie. And he's also got a great sense of humor at times. There is some humor in the movie, which helps since there's so much gruesome stuff that happens. It's good to have a little humor in between. So I love, he does a great job with the humor, with the serious parts, with the action, the fighting. And William Wallace is just one of the great characters of all time. Like I said, you love the love story between him and Miriam, and how he keeps thinking about her even after her death, and he sees her in dreams and stuff like that. And how he's holding on to this, you know, he won't quit, won't give up about fighting for freedom. Even when he's tortured, he will not give in to the king. He will not, you know, he'll still fight for freedom, even to his horrible death, you know. I love that about that guy. He's so brave and strong and such a great leader. He's so good at uniting everybody together for the cause, that I can believe that I would fight for my freedom with William Wallace as my leader. He does such a good job. I think Mel Gibson, and the character is so well written. Anyway, so that's the best character in the movie. Though there's also other great characters, like Brendan Gleeson, I think is great. First movie I've seen him in, he's like his best friend. He's the big, strong, tough guy. And he does a great job in the movie, I think. I think he should have been nominated for supporting actor, maybe. And he's such a great character actor. One of my favorite character actors. Anytime he's in a movie, he gives a good performance. Patrick McGoohan, so great as the bad guy, King Longshakes. So evil. You hate him throughout the whole movie. You just keep hating him, and he gets worse and worse throughout. I mean, does a great job there. And Angus McFadden, who plays Robert the Bruce, I thought gave a great performance. Should have been nominated too, I think, for his. And he's such a very important character to the movie and to real life. as I believe Robert the Bruce is the one that actually wins the freedom or helps lead Scotland to freedom after William Wallace. So yeah, really good there. Best scene, obviously, I think you have to think about the freedom speech as their first battle, the Battle of Stirling, and they're gonna get together. They're all together, and then some of them are gonna leave because the English are too powerful. And he gives us one of the greatest speeches of all time about, yeah, you can go home, live for a little bit longer, but when you die in your beds many years from now, would you give up all that from this time to that to stand up to your enemy and tell them, you can take away my life, but you can't take away my freedom? And it's such a powerful speech that really unites everybody and starts them in the battle. And I love that speech because it's saying, you don't fight for your freedom now. And you might be alive, but what kind of life is that? Living with no freedom, being oppressed by, the English. You want to live your life that way, or get a chance right now and die for it, for a good cause, and hopefully win the freedom for the, next generation to live a life better than what you have. So I love that whole sentiment there. Also, probably the scene that really gets me every time is the very last scene of the movie. In fact, so I'm spoiling the last scene of the movie here, but Angus MacFadyen as Robert the Bruce. There again, the armies, or the Scottish army and the English army, are lined up like they're going to go to battle, but there's going to be like a negotiation where Robert the Bruce is going to be like basically named King of Scotland, I think, or kind of be one of the major leaders of Scotland, but English is still going to control Scotland, basically. So they're there really to negotiate, but Robert the Bruce decides, he gives a speech to the men, basically like, let's go fight them for our freedom. Let's keep on William Wallace's, what he fought for. And he says, you bled for Wallace, bleed for me. Great speech there. And then Brendan Gleeson walks out and he takes William Wallace's sword that he had and he throws it up in the air. And as he throws it in the air, you watch the sword as it twists in the air, and the music just crescendos into this huge dun 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 whatever, and it's just this amazing musical score. Just as you watch this sword fly through the air and land on the ground, and then you go back to the Scottish army, and you see them running, but they're running in slow motion. They slow down the footage, so you're seeing these guys in these kilts with these swords and axes running, and it's just amazing scene, amazing visual to see the Scotchmen running with their kilts, flapping back and forth, and it's very emotional. It's like it's a very last scene, yet it's like one of the most emotional scenes to me, because then afterwards William Wallace, Mel Gibson narrates the very end, saying like, they fought for the freedom. They fought like Scotsmen. It's very emotional, and the music is so amazing and helps with emotions. So that's like always the scene that I love the most. It's the very last scene, so you have to get through the whole movie to get to it. But like that's the scene that I'm just like, it really wows me. I want to say I talked about the movie. I love it so much. The major criticism of the movie is that it's not historically accurate. Like the Battle of Stirling didn't happen that way. It happened on a bridge, I think. And William Wallace wasn't really that way. A lot of the battles weren't done that way. And so I've heard a lot of people say, kind of downgrade the movie because of it wasn't historically accurate, which I don't get. I don't think it has to be historically accurate. It's a movie. It's made for entertainment. If it's a documentary or if it's a book, then it has to be historically accurate, because you're reading it just to get the facts of what happened and learn about the history and what happened. When you're watching a movie, you're there's always criticism of movies that aren't exactly right, but you don't have to be in a movie, because the whole idea by a movie is you're supposed to entertain the audience for 2-3 hours. And so you make up things in order to, it helps the story or helps the drama. And you make up characters maybe that aren't there, or combine characters, whatever. Screenplay writer finds out what's the best way, and the director finds out what's the best way to serve the audience, that the audience will enjoy this movie. And that's why you do it. And so if you did movies exactly historically accurate, they probably wouldn't be as interesting. So you have to play with it a little bit because you're trying to, it's more important to be entertaining and interesting to the audience of watching it than to be factually correct all the time, anyways, in my opinion. So I don't mind that I don't even care if it's historically accurate. Any movie that, if it's historically accurate, I don't care. To me, I just care about what the movie, how the movie, what the director and the writers, you know, what are they doing with the storyline, and is it an interesting storyline? I mean, I guess you don't want to be totally inaccurate, but you want to be somewhat accurate, but you don't have to be to the T anyways. So that's my opinion on that. Why I still love the movie, even if it wasn't historically accurate. Special features, has a lot of special features on it. Has a good audio commentary by Mel Gibson himself. He talks throughout it. There's a Battlefields of Scottish Rebellion, Braveheart, A Look Back, Smithfield, Medieval Killing Fields, Tales of William Wallace, and then A Writer's Journey are the name of the special features. So there's a lot of historical stuff on there, talking about the William Wallace himself, also talking about the making of the movie, and like I said, the writer's journey, talking about how the writer wrote the movie. It's interesting, the writer's name is Randall Wallace. No relations to William Wallace, but just funny how the writer's last name happens to be Wallace, and it's a movie about William Wallace anyway. So that's always kind of interesting. But yeah, a lot of good stuff here in special features, a lot of informational stuff about the real, what really happened there. So yeah, I totally recommend this Blu-ray. There's a lot of great stuff on it. I love watching special features and audio commentary, so I always appreciate when they put more stuff into the Blu-rays or DVDs. So definitely recommend this Blu-ray if you collect Blu-rays and whatnot. Overall, I give this 5 out of 5 stars. Excellent rating. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It still is. I still put it up there as one of my top movies. It's near perfect movie, basically, or about perfect movie. Which means it hits me emotionally, but entertains me too. Anyway, so yeah. So this is, I recommend this movie if you haven't seen it, Braveheart. I think definitely, if you haven't watched it yet, definitely gotta watch this movie. So that's my review of Braveheart, and thanks for watching the video and for liking it. And thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you all, and I hope you have a good day.